This is topic 8, lesson 2, order of operations. So how you evaluate expressions using the order of operations. This is actually very similar to 8.1. It's just that they've kind of added a little bit, made the expressions a little bit more difficult, and now they're really focusing on actually evaluating them, and evaluating them with using variables too. So just to remind ourselves, we do parentheses, we do exponents, then we do multiplication and division from left to right, then addition and subtraction from left to right. Remember, you don't do multiplication, then do division, or addition, then subtraction. You do them you do them the same time, because you will get a different answer if you don't do it that way. Okay, so I just want to show you an example of something you might get. Um, you might get something like this, where it says 4v. Remember, if we put a letter next to a variable, it's multiplication. So 4v, which would be the same as 4 times v, plus 5y, which is the same as 5 times y, minus 2 plus 10 minus 3. And what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, well, y equals 3 and v equals 4. They're going to tell you those possibilities. So what you're going to do is you're going to substitute them, and you're going to say 4 times 4 plus 5 times, oops, sorry about that, 5 times 3 minus 2 plus 10 minus 3. So I've substituted those in there. Did I do that right? 4 times 4 plus 5 times 3. Yep. Minus 2 plus 10 plus 3. Okay. So you're going to do this. Really, it helps if you just take this line by line. And I'm going to even write in my PEMD addition subtraction. So I'm going to start with parentheses, and I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to look. Parentheses. So I have to do that first. So I'm actually going to rewrite the rest of it until I get the parentheses. And 10 minus 3 is 7. Okay. Parentheses. Check. Exponents. There are no exponents. So now I'm going to do multiplication and division at the same time. I'm going to start here and go. First operation, multiplication. Got to do it. 16 plus 5 times 3 minus 2. And you're like, wait, Mr. You just skipped over one. No, I'm going to do these all in separate steps. I'm going to go and I'm going to go up. Addition. I can skip over that. So I'm going to rewrite this as 16 plus. And then 5 times 3. That's my next one. 15 minus 2 plus 7. Okay? And I'm going to keep going. No more multiplication division. All set. Check. Now I'm going to do addition and subtraction. I'm going to start here. First thing, addition. So that would be 31 minus 2 plus 7. And we're going to keep going. 31 minus 2 would be 29 plus 7. And I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to get 36. And so, and I know you're going to look at this and you think, that's a lot of work. I could just do that in my head. Really, this is the better way to do it. Just to keep going it and keep doing it line by line. Each line is one. Excuse me for a second. Each line is one operation. It really, I think whenever I've seen people try and do it with more than one operation on the line, they end up making mistakes. So this is really your best bet. It takes up some space, but it's really worth the effort. The other thing you might see, and I just want to show this, I think this comes in somewhere, so I want to show you something. Um, Another thing you might have them say, you might say something like, let's just get rid of this for a second. Okay, so say they don't tell you this. Something that they might do is they might say like, simplify that statement. Well, you can't simplify out the variables and everything, but you can simplify everything over here. So if you were to simplify the statement, you'd do everything but the things you can do with the variable. So in this case, you'd have 4v plus 5y. I can't do anything with those. Now, I know the first thing I have to do is parentheses, minus 2 plus 7. And then the next thing I'd come across here, I can't do that, right, because it involves a variable, but I can do this. I can do that. So that is this statement simplified. That's as far as I can simplify that statement. So sometimes they might give you a statement with variables in it and say simplify it. That's what they mean to do. They mean to do all the operations you can do, um, except for the variable ones because they haven't given you any variable amounts. So sometimes what you can do is you can actually simplify something before you insert the numbers into it too. It makes it a little bit easier. Okay, um, that's something else you might look for. I'm pretty sure I saw it on a paper somewhere. Okay, the other thing they might do to you is they might give you a equation and say, I want you to insert some parentheses into this and to make it true for this statement. So I've written it 3 times. I've written this 3 times, and I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna write this 4 times. Well, I'm gonna write it correctly for starters. 4 plus 5 times 6 minus 1. Okay. There are 3 different places I can put parentheses here. I can parentheses around the 4 and the 5. I can parentheses on the 5 and the 6. I can parentheses on the 6 and the 1. Each one is going to give me a different amount. And one of them is 53, one of them is 33, one is 29, if I did my math correctly. So let's start by putting them over the 4 and the 5. If I did that, then I would have 9 times 6 minus 1, which would be 54 minus 1, which would be 53. So in this case, that would make that true. Okay, let's write it again. 4 plus 5 times 6 minus 1. Now I'm going to put the parentheses here. In this case, I'm going to do this first. So it's going to be 4 plus 30 minus 1, which would be 4 plus 30, 34 minus 1, which would be 33. So this would equal that. And then the third one, well, you can probably figure out what it's going to be, right? Little process of elimination here. Put the parentheses around there. We're going to do that first. So this would become 4 plus 5 times 5. Now the next thing I do is multiplication and division, right? So I'm going to do that first. 4 plus 25 is 29. So that's another thing they might ask you to do is they might give you an expression and say put parentheses around this to make this true, or put the parentheses in the different places and tell me what it evaluates to. It depends on what they're asking you. But what they want to do is they want you to try and evaluate that expression with all the places you could put parentheses, and you're going to get 3 different answers depending on where you put your parentheses. Now, some expressions you won't get different. You won't get necessarily different. Like if you had all addition and subtraction, the parentheses probably aren't going to matter because you're just going to do everything left to right anyways. Well, maybe that's not true. But there are it's not all expressions that the parentheses are going to affect. If you have addition and multiplication in them, or if you have like the 2 different steps, the multiplication and division and the addition and subtraction in it, parentheses probably going to make a big difference. So that's something else they might ask you to do. Okay, why don't you try this one? This is a little bit longer. It's longer than anything we did yesterday. Okay, so the first thing I have to do, I'm gonna write my parentheses, right? I got a parentheses. So I'm going to do 4 times 6 plus 3 times 3. I have no idea what this equals, by the way. I just kind of wrote this out. So then my parentheses are done. No exponents. Multiplication, division, and you will have exponents, by the way, later in this topic, just in case you were wondering. Multiplication, division. Um, so 4 times 6 is 24, plus 3 times 3 plus 7. I'm going to keep going. Sure enough, there's one. So 24 plus 9 plus 7. This is my multiplication division. Now I'm going to do my addition and subtraction. 24 plus 9 is 33 plus 7, which would be 40. Okay, so that is evaluating expressions. Fairly similar to what we just did, just getting a little bit more complicated and kind of doing a little bit more with variables. So thank you for listening.